So I was driving past a restaurant, pub, if you want to call it, where people were hanging out and watching some football. Some were watching some football, others were just, chatting and whatever it is, having a drink, etc. The traditional goings on at such a social place. And I was thinking to myself, is it possible that I could meet somebody there? Somebody who I could have a reasonable conversation with, a decent conversation with, um, a, a real conversation with. Would I be able to meet another divine being, right? And we could see each other as divine beings. In other words, beyond what I'm wearing, beyond what they are wearing, their age, their sex, their looks, right? If they're driving a car, whatever it might be, the surface level, to see beyond the surface level and connect in that way. And I was thinking that, we are divine beings, but we don't see each other that way. So we've substituted something else, right, in its place. And then I was thinking about like a doctor who sees his patients, and a lot of the time, I had my wisdom teeth removed many years ago. I don't know, this came to mind for me. And I was having quite like a hard time. I was in the chair, it was only one tooth and whatever it was. And after the procedure, I really felt very vulnerable, right? I felt very dizzy. I felt like I could faint, I just felt sort of just vulnerable, fragile. It was quite traumatizing, I must say. And I was almost reaching out to the doctor in that time, to the dentist, as just almost for not just compassion or empathy, just for comfort, just for I don't know, just give me time as well, because he was kind of rushing me at the same time, like, okay, your procedure's done, I've got another appointment going, and, he was very much, writing down, etc., what it was, and then, the medication that I would need, whatever, the antibiotics and things like that, and he was so calculated, and he was so cold, and so distant, and he didn't even let me catch my breath, in that way. And I realized I'm just a patient, and he doesn't have that time, he doesn't have that space, to connect with me in my experience, whatever it was. Many years ago, and I'm going to divulge it, I went to a place for a massage, and essential massage. We're all grown-ups here, let's just, many years ago. And I remember, I felt I was very lonely at the time. I hadn't been with a woman for a long time, possibly a year and a half. It was really, intense. And I managed to get up the courage to, back then it was in the newspapers. I didn't even really know on the internet. It was in the classified section. And I just took a chance and whatever it was. And I can't remember all the details. But one of the things that I remembered was that I felt like I was just an object, that I was just kind of being serviced. It's almost like I was a car, I'm sorry to say. And I found that very daunting. And it's reasonable to expect that, because, the lady who's doing the service is not able to connect emotionally with her client, if you will, because it's very, very intense. And I'd imagine for her as well, like I thought a lot about this, and I've thought about it from time to time, about like how difficult it must be to be emotionally there for others, especially for men who maybe are like in sort of very bad marriages, or they haven't been able to, their wife does not look at them anymore, and they just have a whole lot of needs to be met, not just sexually, but more than sexual, just physical, just emotional. And, the wife now just sees him as the husband. Again, we've taken the role of wife or husband or brother or sister or friend or cousin or boss as titles. And we wear them as name tags. And media and culture and everything else has given us the script in order to understand one another only on that level, not on a soulful level, not on an individual level. You know, religions do that as well a lot of the time. I mean, you go to, what do you call it when you go to the priest and you ask for atonement? There's another word for it. I forgot what it is. And it's like, well, you know, Father, I have sinned, you know, I've committed adultery and I've done this and whatever it is. And it's like, well, say 3 Hail Marys or something like that and you'll be fine. And, you know, the priest doesn't look and say, well, why did you do those things? Why did you sin? What led you to sin? It's the same thing like in, you know, people who are incarcerated in prison. You know, it breaks my heart when a 20-year-old guy, you know, lands up in prison because, you know, firstly he raped somebody or he murdered somebody or he robbed from somebody or something like that, or he did some kind of felony or whatever it was, and he's put in jail for like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and he's just made to sit there and think about what he's done. But it's more than that. It's more just to remove that person from society because they are a liability. They are dangerous because, you know, they have these urges, these pathologies, right? They're disturbed in ways that, you know, and obviously in society and culture, we don't know what to do with that. You know, correctional service, is a correctional service or something like that? It's something like that is another name for prison or something, whatever. And some prisons, you know, I've uploaded a video on the documentary The Work, which, you know, they do real shadow work, you know, in the prison, and it's very, very intense, and it's, you know, very, very profound, and it's very, very healing. But what we do with a 20-year-old or anybody else who's committed some kind of felony, murder, and these are treacherous people, and, you know, from the looks of it, the first thing we say is lock them up or off with their heads or, you know, give whatever it might be. But we don't say, well, what led them to this? How did they become so wounded? How did they become so jaded? How did they become so dangerous? How did they become, you know, so what happened in their own abuse? And, you know, 9 out of 10 times, almost 10 out of 10 times, I was listening to a story here in South Africa about a guy, and he murdered and stabbed his girlfriend, and he went to Brazil, and they finally caught him, and it turned out that his father used to physically abuse him, right? And in terrible ways. And, you know, the mother of the son, you know, whatever, tells the story of how the father would verbally, physically, psychologically abuse him in so many ways. You know, and now this guy's going to jail, and he's just going to sit there, you know, whatever it is. And that's it, and then thrown away the key. Good riddance to bad rubbish. And so that's the problem. We see each other as consumers, right? We see each other as like, it doesn't matter if I'm selling you something that's unhealthy for you. I don't know, a cream, a lotion, a food, whatever it might be, because I only see you as a customer. I see you as an exchange. I see you as a commodity, right? Just as government sees the people, the civilians of the country, or whatever you want to call it, the people of the country, as mere slaves. That's all that they are. They're just slaves in that way. And they're not seen as people. So schooling, the school system doesn't see you as a divine being. It doesn't see you as a unique individual, okay? With your own skills, talents, sensitivities, wounds, traumas, you know, imagination. It doesn't see you. You are just another brick in the wall, you know? You're just another brick in the wall. And so, I mean, it's in every area of life that we see it. It's like, I feel that even a husband and a wife, they understand each other that, oh, this is my husband, from love songs. That's the idea of love songs. And take my hand, take my whole life too, because I can't help falling in love with you. It's like we have this idea of obsession in like romantic type of situations where we become completely codependent on the other person, and it's not love, it's obsession. It's basically let's get lost in each other. Let's escape our own pains by becoming a husband and wife. I mean, there's many areas that, I could go into this, but from different perspectives. I mean, people get married for different reasons, obviously. But a lot of the time it's because it's culturally sanctioned or something like that, and it's what you're supposed to be doing, right? And so in our culture, we're told what a man is. This is what a man is, but now the role of the man is shifting. It's becoming a lot more feminized. The man is not a man really anymore. It's not very masculine, not in touch with the masculinity. And the female is not very much in touch with her femininity as well, right? But we're told what a woman is. Well, what is a man? What is an attractive man to a woman in our society? What is an attractive man? Fairly well built, right? Well dressed. Smells good, cleanly shaved, very hairless, ironed clothing all the time, successful career or something like that, or potentially, famous, which would be better, celebrity of some kind. Sports, a sportsman. Sportsmen are seen as gods. Like, I see them outside of these shopping centers, like pictures of rugby players. And they're gigantic, they're huge. Just these pictures, of them wearing their Nike or their Adidas or whatever sponsored clothing, on, they're all sweaty and whatever it is, but it's the pictures photoshopped and made to look, and it's the tight shirt, so the muscles are bulging there. And it's like, oh, so sexy, and whatever it is, sportsmen, soccer players, football players, same thing, but whatever it is, if you're in sports, then you're A for away, and that's what's attractive. It's a higher achiever in the world of finance, of law, of medicine, or something or other, right? And it's got nothing to do with who you are in your fundamental self, your spirit, your soul, right? It's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. And for a woman, well, a woman is, what makes an attractive woman? It's worse for a woman. Overly sexualized, completely overly sexualized, completely, the woman, all exploited completely, right? But it's mostly sexual. It's mostly just an attraction. It doesn't even matter if she's a bitch, how's that term? A bitch. It's a female dog. It doesn't matter as long as she's pretty, as long as she's attractive. Like, I hear so many times, the first thing people say, like when they see a newborn baby, or the first time they see a child for it's a few months old, oh, she's so pretty, Okay, it's more so with women than I think with boys, But it's like, she's so pretty, not like, wow, this one's got a deep soul about her. Oh, this one is sensitive, hey? This one is intuitive. This one is aware. No, she's so pretty. Whatever it is. You're a princess. You call each other princess. Not divine being or something like that. Angel is nice, I suppose, but it's more an endearing term, which is okay, which is probably better than princess, for crying out loud. It's something that's saintly. It's something that's, beyond the material, beyond the sort of hierarchy. Or princess is almost like, well, you royalty in this world, type of thing. We call each other such endearing terms as babe or baby. I'm saying men to women in relationships. Or boo, my boo. Like childish, very, very childish, right? demoralizing to call a man boo or babe or my baby, what time are you coming home, or whatever it is, that and obey, BAE or something like that, For those who want to be a little bit different, you can choose whatever. It's all culturally sanctioned or something like that, or whatever it is, And so it's amazing. It's amazing that like a man who's very wealthy, or a woman or something, and they, in their older years, their later years in life, they're not so much seen to a degree as grandpa, or a lot of the time they're just seen as, well, when you're going to die, because I can't wait to inherit your money, or something like that. It's not true intentions. The people, we kiss each other's asses. I mean, when you see a boss, you got this culturally sanctioned description of a person, and this is your script, and this is how you treat your boss, and this is who you are. When I walk into my father's company, he's got a very successful company and a lot of employees. I'm telling you, I feel like a celebrity. People like open the door for me. They're like, when they see me, they smile. They're like, they're very charming. They're eager to help in any which way they can. The way that they greet me and whatever it is. These people saw me on the street. Okay, not that I'm a stranger, but just in general, they would never be as nice and respecting to me and go out of their way. I can feel it. I've known it for years. And I see the way that they speak to my father as well, And so like children, how children are seen by the parents or by the peers or by the elders and whatever it is, all the expectations that we have and so on and so forth. So we don't allow that divine being, that individual authentic self to come out. If it does, right, then there's actually quite a bit of a problem in our culture and society. Because then we don't really understand the child, or we don't really understand that person, and they fall out of the matrix. They don't speak the same language, and we don't have the tools and the means and the know-how, to address them or engage them or involve with them. We don't have the required tools to have empathy, sympathy, understanding, compassion, awareness, sensitivity, open-heartedness, curiosity, presence, to be able to receive a divine being, right? Most of us do not hold the space to really bring not just a stereotypical view of God, or have a relationship with God. I'm saying to walk in the presence of God. How's the battery here? Or something like that. That's also another thing. How we've detailed, we've described the title God, of what God is, right? What the figure is of God, what God stands for, and so on and so forth. And religions have helped and ruined that to a large degree, and whatever it is. And so and that's what I'm saying. So anybody who doesn't fall within the category of how we can understand them in the roles of culture, then we really feel uncomfortable by them, right? We really feel to almost stay away from them. We just really feel it's very unpleasant. Like when I have met women and men, in sort of like coming back to the pub scene, when I get really lonely and I'll go down to the pubs and the restaurants and things like that, and I think I might find somebody, even at a flea market or something like that, and flea market may be a bit better, but then I understand, like, that well, people, I don't say they feel uncomfortable. I think some do. I think some do appreciate my difference of who I am and whatever it is, and they appreciate the fact that I see them for who they are. So it's not everybody. There are people that I feel that I touch them in a certain way that is not unforgettable, but brings an awareness to them, brings a sense of something very different. I catch a lot of these Ubers, and a lot of the time at the end of the conversation, car is always a great place to have a conversation, because I mean, somewhat, because the person's not on their phone, they're concentrating on the road in front of them, and it's a good place to, I don't know, to have a conversation. Not great, I'm saying if you're sitting in traffic, but if you're in the open road or something like that, and I'll speak to these guys, and when I get out the car, they'll be like, "Thank you. That conversation was just so stimulating, just so riveting." Often we talk about CV, or we talk about, whatever's going on in the world, and the end of the world, and whatever it is, and so to speak, in a way, changing of the gods, the changing of the times, and they're really fascinated. Now, it's not everybody, but when they do, and so I do get that reception to some degree or another. But I mean, if I had to take that guy's number down, the driver, and say, let's go for a drink, or let's just, come over for a chat, we'd probably have very little in common, and, we just wouldn't connect at all. So I suppose that's something else. But the thing is that you can only connect with people that have a presence about them, that are not fully immersed in in a self-image that has been given to them by society, and living in the imagination of culture, which I'm going to do another talk on, about the imagination, and how it's been exploited, and how we're living in the Truman Show is actually based in the imagination. The Matrix is actually based in the imagination, right? And it's manifested from the imagination. Because the imagination can be used for good or bad, just like fire, can be used for good or bad. Not necessarily bad, but it can burn your house down, or it can cook you a meal, or can keep you warm on a freezing cold night and save your life, or something other. Water as well, you can drown in it, and so it's not bad per se in that way, but whatever it is, not maybe used and so. What am I saying here? But you get the idea, right? So the imagination, and so when you can really only connect on a consistent level, on a heartfelt level, and grow with somebody when in themselves they are present with who they are, whatever that means, that they're in touch with who they are, that they see beyond the labels, they see beyond the descriptions, they see beyond the titles, they see beyond the professions, right? They see beyond the sexes, they see beyond the flesh, they see beyond the clothing, the labels again, the designer labels. They see beyond all of that. They see beyond, and they see it. It doesn't, and they see it in animals as well, and nature as well. We see nature, like I was having a talk with somebody over the weekend about, they were kind of saying that the lockdown, they agree with the lockdown, and they agree with completely all the, whatever it is, like the social distancing and the masks wearing and things like that, and I said, fine, if you're going to agree with that, but how can you not agree as well, get on board with the fact that people should build their own immunity, and diet plays a massive role, because that's your first. Like I was saying, imagine you have a computer with no firewall, no anti-spam, no antivirus, nothing. And you're going to all these porn sites, you're going to all these casino sites, you're going, and because that's the world of the toxins that we live in, the fast foods, the pharmaceuticals, and I said, surely to stop a virus from entering, you need an immune system. And he couldn't understand, he could not understand for the life of me that there's such a thing like as an immune system, and that your health is based on what you eat, and your lifestyle. Like, he was just so far removed from that reality. And I was like, man, well, what's my point there? I don't know what my point is again. Maybe just seeing things in a certain way, like nature being mute. Right? That like animals are stupid, that there's no consciousness or sensitivity in animals or in plants, that it's all just random. That like, dogs are there just to keep us company. And when we leave on holiday, we lock them up on a small little balcony with an automatic dog feeder or something like that, or whatever it is. Or just, that animals are there to serve us. And it's the most ridiculous thing ever. That nature is just here to serve us. So that's it, because we don't see the divinity in nature, we don't see the divinity in animals, we don't see the connectedness, the interconnectedness of nature. So we don't realize that if we poison this river here, that it's going to affect the ocean. We don't see that if we, plow this land continuously, that it's going to cause, or we cut down the trees in the forest and whatever it is, that this is going to cause, and has a knock-on effect. You say, no, it's stupid, it's not related. You go to a hand doctor and all you can see is the hand, but not the rest of the body. Or you go to a doctor and they don't see the parts that's interconnected with everything. And everything that's divine is whole, is holistic, it's part of a much intricate, connected system. Everything is. Our lives are tapestries, right? Our lives are intertwined, it's all interconnected. But people don't see that. They don't see that there's consequences, right? They don't see much because, again, they only see on the surface level of things, and they don't see the spirit in something. They don't see the divine in something. They don't see the sacredness in something. They don't see it, and that's why they can eat the foods that they eat. They can watch the movies and the TV series that they watch, and they can play the games that they watch, and they can watch the porn, and they can consume and consume and consume because they don't see that what they are consuming is actually dead. They can't see what's alive, and they can't see what's actually dead. And there is things that are void of spirit, and then there are things that are overwhelming, overflowing with spirit, abundant of spirit. It's and whatever it is. And that's the world we live in, is that we are intentionally removed from spirit to try and seek it out and find it as much as we can. And firstly, it's to find in ourselves, and then find it outside as well. At this, and something or other. But that's what I was thinking, is that we don't see spirit. We don't see the divine, right? We only see on the surface level of things, and that's why we are so lonely. That's why we are so scared. We don't even see ourselves. We don't see our wounds, or we don't see our inner child, right? We don't see what's going on internally. We don't see. We don't see at all. We are blind, So it's time for us to open our eyes, and because and that's what humanity is suffering from and is struggling with. So all these videos of like the fall of the cabal, or Out of the Shadows, that I see people, all these all these documentaries about like, the powers that be and the hidden hand and did you know that this was going on behind the scenes, and it just so stimulates people, just so engaging. Everyone's sharing the videos, and look at these people and look what they've been up to in the child traffic, whatever, and the this and the that, and these kind of horrible people, and it's just a distraction. So no, this is freeing my mind, and it's not freeing your mind. This is entrapping you in fear and in the imagination of these all-power oligarchies. The alpha, these people being the alpha omegas. You're not seeing the sacredness. They're not teaching you anything about the divinity or the sacredness of the planet that we live in this dimension that we live in. All they're showing is the evils with no solution whatsoever. And so people are watching this and saying, no, this is like, Q is promoting this stuff or whatever behind it all. It's like, no, they're not freeing you. They're entrapping you, even though it's so-called truth that you're waking up to, and whatever it is, that this is a hoax, that this was planned, or this was an inside job or something like that. That means you're awake to the evils of those. So that's the tip of the iceberg. You haven't even started. You're seeing beyond one layer of things, but all you're seeing is that you're lifting up the layer to see the evil behind it, to see the control behind it, but you're not seeing the divinity in yourself or in it or anything whatsoever. And so people say, yeah, I'm waking up, I've woken up. So no, you have, to a very, very limited degree, like those Russian dolls, you lift one up and there's a doll within a doll within a doll within a doll. You've only lifted up one Russian doll, that's all you've done, and there's so many more underneath as well that you just haven't even anticipated or considered. All right, folks, chat soon, take care.